Thank you, Madam Chair. Councilmember Hernandez.
Here.
Councilmember Padilla is currently absent, and Councilmember Hutt.
Here.
2 members and a quorum.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and move now to public comment, please. Ms. Choi, can you please read the instructions for public comment?
Absolutely. We will now take public comment. As this is a special meeting, there is no general public comment, only agenda item comment. When your name is called, please come to the podium and state which item of the agenda you would like to speak on. You will have 1 minute per item to speak, up to 2 minutes total for multiple agenda items. We will let you know when your time is up. When speaking on the agenda items, you must be on topic. If you're not speaking on topic, or if we cannot tell if you are speaking on topic, you will get 1 brief warning from the chair or me. If you do not immediately get back on topic, or again stray off topic, the chair will cut you off and you'll forfeit the rest of your speaking time. Thank you.
I'll be calling some names. If you could please line up behind the podium. David Sanchez, Audit LA.
Good morning, Attorney Hamstam. My name
The items you would like to speak on?
Yes, I'm just trying to tell you what items I will be speaking on. And then the item I will be speaking on will be 1, 2, 3,
2 minutes total.
5, 6. Thank you very much, Attorney Corson. Start with item number 1, Corson, is about the impact, about the departmental impact of the 2025-2026 budget. Yes, the impact is absolutely tremendous. Why? It's because our Councilmember Hernandez continue to give money to those illegal immigrants. So what the result of that? We are having a huge cut in our street lighting. We are having a huge cut in our trash pickup. We are a huge cut in our sanitation department bureau. We are a huge cut in our whatever, all bureaus across public works. Yes, there's a huge impact. And then the problem is that law-abiding citizens are not able to receive their services, but every single illegals will always receive their services. And I really wish our brand new council member Spindler will solve the problem in 2026 general election. Now let's move on to item number 3 and 4 is about a reappointment for the public works. Yes, it is very concerning that our council member Hernandez provided no oversight over the public works. Our council member sitting at the chair of the public works committee, but cares nothing about the public works. This has to be stopped from now. And then I really wish that our brand new council member Spindler in 2026, someone who always advocate for safe street, someone who always advocate for the commissioners for clean street, someone who always advocate better public works services will replace this kind of failure CD1 council member. So everybody vote for Spindler, council member CD1 2026.
Next speaker.
Okay. We'll wait for the besties to stop playing around because you have to listen when I'm here. Right, Ms. Hernandez? I caught you once.
Hi, the items you would like to speak on?
Final warning, Mr. Spindler. Stop making sounds.
I like that sound. We're good. I love it, actually. It makes me laugh. Okay, here we go. I'm just going to go down the list. Okay,
2
the
minutes.
Public Works, okay? I have been to every single Public Works meeting except for 2. One when my dog was sick, I had to take her to the vet and she passed, but and one more, I forget what happened. And so I've been through 4 presidents now, okay? And I feel we finally have the best, we finally settled into the best president. Mr. Kang he listens. Like, I've never caught him not listening or making eye contact or making me feel like completely welcome in his chambers, and he's listening to me. Maybe he can't resolve all my issues, but I feel heard every single time. And I feel kind of guilty because I wanted Mr. Grant, because Mr. Grant has always been my favorite since he joined. And, but you know what, but he said to trust Mr. Kang, and I did, and he's even has worked towards making sure we're heard and make sure we have our, the public comment. He suspended, when there's so many people, he doesn't go with, oh, well, we're gonna stick with 10 minutes. So he's not like city council, no offense. And then the other gentleman, Mr. Cardenas, I don't know him yet, like, you know what I mean? But I'm getting good. If Mr. Grant says that he's a go, and if Mr. Kang says he's a go, I'm gonna like, let's go with that. Because we started off with a horrible public works. I'm sorry, the first two presidents, no offense, I'm just being honest, they were not my cup of tea. And so I feel like we're finally getting to where we're getting really good people. And so I'm gonna say, you know, don't let me down, Mr. Grant or Mr. Kang. No, he seems wonderful. So I'm going to give a big yes to both of them. But because we don't want to change presidents right now, we want to keep it going because, you know, the people, we're feeling heard. You know, after a year, the planters are gone, right? We don't have all this endless street closure permits. Like, there's progress being made. And so I say yes to both of them. But I don't like that we lost our public comment, Ms. Hernandez. But thank you for listening today. You too, Ms. Hutt. Thank you for paying attention. Appreciate it always. Bye.
If you signed up for public comment, can you please line up behind the podium? Speaker, the name that you signed up under and the items you would like to speak on.
Yes, this is Heidi Boo and all items.
2 minutes.
So we're talking about budget issues here, right? And I can tell you one of the impacts. I don't even have to hear it from you, but I can tell you one of the impacts, right? Over at Hollywood, just about every street corner has 0 lights on it. And despite making countless requests, none of those lights ever get fixed. And the reason that's an issue is because every time I try to park there, as I'm doing some of my auditing on Scientology, my tires will get slashed. I'll get nails in my tires. I know many of the people here will get nails in their tires just for simply parking their cars there. And Scientology does a really good job of destroying my property and never getting charged for it. It seems to be an ongoing issue. I don't know why, despite the Board of Public Works as well as this committee now knowing that those street lights actually help improve public safety, none of the lights over in the Hollywood area particularly get repaired. And it's only particularly around where the Scientology building is, where they constantly slash my tires. They constantly put nails. They tried doing it on my scooter. Lo and behold, not a surprise, right? But we're moving on to another issue for some of the appointments here that we have on the Board of Public Works. So the Board of Public Works, while I really have no comments particularly one way or the other against the commissioners, the problem I do have is the unlawful restriction on public comment period overall. It was not always that way. It only started being that way when people deliberately started coming in to voice their grievances, not only about some of the street lighting issues where we're getting our tires slashed by Scientology, but also about some of the other issues around the streets, right, where people are talking about liability payouts that are higher than the LAPD. Go figure that more people are tripping and hurting themselves than the LAPD is hurting and killing people. And so these are the issues that we're coming here to talk to you guys about today. You know, this committee has the power to do something about it. Please, please, please fix the street lights so my tires can get stop getting slashed by Scientologists who do it in the dark. They like to hide in the dark. So just please fix those street lights and help get my tires not slashed. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. The name that you signed up under and the items you would like to speak on.
Signed up under FOC. I mean, so let's see. We got a loser here. Ernesto Cardenas wants to be a paid commissioner. You know, you're not going to do any good for anybody. They're going to be down tonight at Westchester on a special field meeting tonight. So Heather might want to go there. See, you don't get street lights in our city if you're brown skinned. And you don't get them if you're Koreans, and you don't get them if you're in CD1. But if you're in CD10 with Heather Augustine, you get street lights all you want because they're white and they're predominantly higher paying rent. And see, your commission needs to stop denying these services to the brown skin, and you need to stop denying services to the Sepulveda Basin, where only 14% of the street lights are currently on right now. There's a crime wave down there. And it's, you know, Jewish people use that park, stop discriminating against the Hebrew, and start turning on the fucking street lights. Because, you know, you're going to go to this fat fucking clown over here and try to get street lights. It's a fucking joke. So we need you, the commission, to say no to them and yes to street lights, because street lights reduce crime. Street lights are the reason that LAPD can't patrol CD1 and CD13, because they can't be in an area capable of being ambushed. It's in their contracts. It's in their life insurance contracts, Heather Augustine. That's the reason why there's so much fucking crime. So you see, less crime means more street lights. So go down to Westchester. Fucking lights are all on. All over Inglewood, you drive through Inglewood, and once you cross CD8, it's completely illuminated. You go back into LA, it's completely illuminated. You people on this city council, the most destructive motherfuckers in this city I've ever seen in my life. You just want to throw me out of meetings. And now I get a bill yesterday for my water in CD1, $1,540. It should have been zero. So you see, now they're stealing my money because Hamburger Hernandez sends these assholes over to my building to chase me out. But you see, you can't chase me out because where am I going to go? To fucking Canada? Where am I going to go? I'm stuck here. I'm a prisoner of war in this piece of shit fucking city.
Thank you. Next speaker. The name you signed up under and the items you would like to speak on.
Dirty nigger. Now,
The items.
all items and non-agenda fucking
2 minutes.
comment, Mr. Attorney. Now that we know the truth about Ernesto Cardenas for the Board of Public fucking Works, I don't fucking care on item number 3. Fuck item number 3. Now the issue on Steve Kang, the president, fucking terrorist motherfucker, allowed that LA film to fucking attack me. I vote no on him. But you're gonna give it to him anyways. I mean, look at the big fat hamburger shoving food in her mouth while I talk. That's the reason why I vote no. Big fat burger, vote no. Fuck you. And then the safeguard of public safety for infrastructure, fat burger. Both you two cunts got to listen to the public. It's true. Wire theft, fucking bridges that are older than shit. You built a hump of bridges and you fucking can't even hump across Boyle Heights to LA without any fucking problem. But there are problems. Wire theft. Why is that, John? Why is that, Steve? Why the fuck can you not fix our sidewalk and streets? Willits versus Los Angeles. Willits versus Los Angeles. Because you allow those fucking handicapped, disabled retards to get up there with that cocksuckers from the Department of Disability and lie. Now you're paying for it, bitch. That's why the budget's a crisis. That's why infrastructure's a crisis. And that's why those fucking niggers and those nigger communities have no fucking life. Put the fucking lights on, Hut. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not Hut. It's Augustina. And your 3 boys, maybe they could put the lights on. Pay them to do the job. Because Fat Burger, there's all about fucking immigration. She don't know shit. Stop interfering with the federal investigation because we need infrastructure, not to tear our infrastructure down and throw rocks at people out of the infrastructure that we need. So on the point,
Please
I'm
get
trying to
back on topic or
I'm
you'll
sorry.
forfeit your
Listen,
time.
fucking Connie Chung, I'm almost finished. Fuck you, 42 USC 1983.
Last call for public comment.
I had given a final warning to Spindler and he's making noises. So can he be removed from the meeting, please? Thank you.
There are no more speakers on the queue, ma'am.
I just want to say this committee does not agree with any of the language used, and some of those people speaking need to look in the mirror. Let's go, Spindler. You're out. Come on, we gotta continue with work.
I just feel sorry for the dog.
Let's go. Then you should know the rules. Go. Get out.
I feel sorry for the dog. That's what I have to say. It's to live with both of you.
Keep it going. We're intervening with city work. Come on, let's go. No questions. Let's go. Let's go. All right. Since there are no more speakers on the queue, public comment is now closed. Colleagues, today we have a total of 6 items on the agenda. Today we'll begin our discussion with 2 commission appointees. Items 3 and 4, followed by items 2 and 6, and lastly we'll hear item 1. Before we begin our discussion, I propose we approve item 5 on consent. Are there any questions or discussions regarding this item, Councilwoman?
No questions.
Thank you. Seeing as there are none, Mr. Espinoza, can you please read item 5 into the record?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item number 5 is a motion from Councilmember Lee Park and McOsker relative to a comprehensive emergency preparedness plan for mudslide risks and best practices for safeguarding public safety and city infrastructure.
Thank you. Colleagues, I'm proposing the following recommendations for this item. For item 5, I recommend we concur with the ad hoc committee on LA Recovery's recommendation. May I get a second, please?
I second.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Mr. Espinoza, can you please call the roll for this item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Councilmember Hernandez.
Yes.
Councilmember Padilla is currently absent, and Councilmember Hutt.
Yes.
2 ayes, and this item is approved.
Thank you. Mr. Espinoza, we're going to go ahead and go into item number 4. Can you please read the item into the record? And as he's reading it, Mr. Kang, can you please join us at the table? Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 4 is a communication from the mayor relative to the reappointment of Steve Kang to the Board of Public Works.
Thank you. Thank you for being here with us today. We're excited to have you and to see your reappointment to the Board of Public Works. Before we dive into some questions, Mr. Kang, can you please introduce yourself and provide the committee an overview of your background?
Sure. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Councilmember Heather Hutt. My name is Steve Kang, and I'm honored to serve as the first AAPI President of the Board of Public Works. It is a privilege to partner with both of you to advance projects that improve the quality of life for our residents. And since joining the board last November, I have worked to bring my background in serving underserved communities to the forefront, focusing on equity in the delivery of services across our city. Far too often, marginalized and immigrant communities are left behind due to a lack of basic services and the challenges posed by the ongoing budgetary constraints. In response, I've collaborated closely with community partners to triage constituent casework and promote transparency in our operation. To further our commitment to accessibility and engagement, the board holds monthly meetings in Van Nuys and bi-monthly Public Works town halls in neighborhoods across Los Angeles. So this evening, we're proud to be in Westchester, where we'll provide key updates and hear directly from residents in CD 11. And looking ahead, I'm excited to partner with Council District 1, Council Member and Madam Chair, to open a Public Works Town Hall sometime in August. Also, thank you again for your consideration, and it would be my honor to continue my service on the board.
Thank you. I was about to say, Mr. Kang, what are we next? I want one of those. Thank you so much. I will say, working with you and the rest of the members of the Public Works body has been just one that's been very fruitful. I think not only for my district, but even seeing how it's implemented in other districts. It's just, in moments like this, when we're trying to figure out what's happening with the federal government, Public Works are the things that we can deliver on for our constituents. That is a huge part of our responsibility. So you've been doing a great job, the other members as well. And so I just wanted to give you my gratitude for the partnership and openness and direction and illuminating things that we have not taken advantage of as a council office for our constituents. So I'm just, I'm really grateful for the information sharing and your leadership.
Thank you.
I have a
Thank
few
you.
questions, if that's okay, Councilwoman. What goals do you hope to achieve as you serve another term on the board? And can you share some of the key issues you're hoping to tackle if reappointed? When you
Sure.
get reappointed?
Thank you. Thank you for those questions. So in terms of some of the goals that we're looking ahead in the new fiscal year is everybody understands the difficult budgetary constraints that our city has and the potential impact, which you'll all hear momentarily. But specifically within the board, we really want to tackle some of the revenue generations that we can be had, especially related to our Office of Accounting, where they help process different permits. And because of sort of the lack of personnel and sort of the backlog, we're missing thousands and potentially millions of dollars that we could provide back into the general fund. And especially with the Office of Petroleum, the vast majority of our petroleum contracts have lapsed in terms of franchise agreements. So in order for us to create revenue for those contracts, renegotiating those in a timely fashion will also generate millions back into the general fund. And then in terms of some of the key issues that I'm hoping to accomplish as president is 3 things. Language access, which has been a big advocacy of mine, making sure that our departments speak the languages of our constituents. And also in terms of procurement. I'm a big fan, and I know both of you are, in terms of making sure that our small businesses, especially those mom and pop, are given the same level of equity and access to many of our contracts. So I understand many of them do not have the expertise to be prime, but many of them can be ready for subs. So we should be giving those instructions and guidance, and making sure those mom and pop, even if they don't speak the language English, that if whether it's Spanish, Korean, or any other languages, that we're able to provide those access. So definitely want to work on different procurement opportunities, and also streamlining other core city services, whether it's graffiti removal and others. So because budget is tight and many of our services are going to be delayed, so how do we prioritize those services with the equity lens? So we have a finite amount of money and time, so definitely prioritizing those communities that are more underserved throughout our city.
Thank you. And then, reflecting on your recent term, what accomplishments are you most proud of, and what lessons have you taken from the challenges you've faced?
Well, I'm honored to have been on the board for about 8 months now. So honored to have been reconsidered for a full term. So a couple of things that I'm very proud of is I think this new board is much more proactive and public facing than before, where we're out in neighbor councils, working directly with both of your offices, especially in the field, making sure that we solve constituent casework, whether it's tree related, graffiti related, and making sure that all the communication is streamlined. So recently, our executive officer and I, we helped host the first meeting of all OCB graffiti contractors, where we heard directly from all of our community-based partners throughout the city, whether you're in the Valley, the West Side, or Central or South LA. What are some of the main issues that that you're facing with, right? Even within the budgetary constraints. And one of the big comments and takeaway from that is that it's the first time that they've ever been hosted in a meeting of that fashion. So even though they feel that there are some major problems to be resolved, but they feel valued and heard, right? And one of the quick things, and I want to give a shout out to our executive officer, is that, you know, currently when you put in your graffiti a removal request, it still says it will be resolved within 24 hours. But as you all know, with the budgetary impacts, those times will be delayed. So it is technically right now up to 5 days. And that is something that we were able to resolve almost instantaneously, and we corrected that. So if you put in your 311 request, it will now reflect that. So the contractors don't feel like, oh my goodness, I need to fulfill this within 24 hours, or I'm going to be dinged, or I'm going to be sort of held liable. So those are some of the small wins that that we're having. And also in terms of the transparency and accountability and language access, I feel that the board has really moved the big step forward. We're really speaking to our constituents in multiple languages, our social media, to our emails and other newsletter and communication are being drafted in other languages. And also we're working very closely with all of our bureaus so that we're all aligned on those missions.
Thank you so much. I'm excited that you're thinking about revenue generation and about bringing the different bureaus together, because I think the less money we have, the more strategic and surgical we need to be, right? So how do we get the graffiti done faster? How do we get our sidewalks done more efficiently? So I'm glad you're thinking about that. And just one thing, if you could also think about, is charter reform. That's coming, and it would be great to get an analysis from you and your team on what changes need to be made or upgrades, because that's not cracked open very often, but it's moving. So thank you, and excited to see you continue. Councilwoman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you so much, Mr. Commissioner, for your service to the city, not just as a commissioner, but as a constituent. You have always been someone in the community that we could depend on for the truth, and someone that doesn't mind getting their hands dirty. So, you know, when I'm listening to you talk about graffiti abatement, I see you, you know, painting a wall, because that's the kind of person you are. I'm excited about your goals. If we were in a perfect world where we had the big budget, is there something that you see that you feel like we should be doing from a public works point of view that we are not yet at, and you see a pathway to getting there? You don't have to tell me what it is, but
Yes, absolutely. And I know there's, never enough funds to fulfill everything, but taking graffiti, for example, and thank you, Councilwoman, for helping to, and both of you for ensuring that we maintain at least the current level of funding for all of our contractors, because that was a big win for us during the budgetary process. But with the rise in cost of not just personnel, but our trucks and
Yeah.
just all the materials, raw materials that we need for graffiti removal. I heard firsthand from all of our contractors about the potential delays and potentially having a further impact throughout the city in terms of that. But also, I wish we could hire more crews just all around, right, in all of our bureaus to making sure so that we're not waiting 10 years for tree trimmings and sidewalks and all of the above. And Madam Chair, I'm sure, yeah, well, you and I think we're on the same page on that. So, those in a perfect world and then one thing I did forget to mention is that I really want to help prioritize and make sure that, all of our contractors are paid on time.
Nice.
Because I know both of you hear directly from many of the organizations, and we as a city should do better in terms of when we allocate those funds, those should go out within, whether it's 30 or 60 days.
That's more than reasonable. And I appreciate you really putting emphasis on procurement, because those are our local contractors. And you know what they do? Local hire. And you know what that it makes our whole economy feel better when folks can do this work. So I want to say I appreciate you. I sure hope you get the votes. It's a joke. No. Thank you. And we are looking forward to continuing to partner with you. I love the idea that you are doing your tour throughout the city, having constituent casework
to come to CD10
in
well.
The city. And I love the idea of being in CD10, having that kind of constituent facing meeting so that they could, share what their concerns are. And then the triage piece. I think that's so important, because when a constituent does take the time to call any city service and to know that we're actually working on it, it means we're doing our job. So thank you so much. That's all, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I'm recommending that we approve the mayor's commission reappointment. May I get a second?
Thank you. I second.
Thank you so much. Mr. Espinoza, can you please call the roll for this item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Councilmember Hernandez.
Yes.
Councilmember Padilla is currently absent, and Councilmember Hutt.
Absolutely.
2 ayes, and this item is approved.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kang. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to the next appointment. Yeah. Now we're moving on to our next appointment item. Mr. Espinoza, can you please read the item into the record? And Mr. Cardenas, please join us at the table.
Thank you. Item number 3 is a communication from the mayor relative to the appointment of Ernesto Cardenas for the Board of Public Works.
Thank you so much, Mr. Espinoza. Thank you, Mr. Cardenas, for being with us here today. We're thrilled to welcome you and look forward to learning more about you as you step into this important role. Please introduce yourself and provide the committee with an overview of your background and your interest in serving on the Board of Public Works. Just press the button.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Councilmember Hutt. I'll go with a background of where I'm at, and I'll also go in a little bit about some activities that I do in my community. Born and raised in the San Fernando Valley in Pacoima. I'm proud to be son of immigrants from Jalisco, Mexico. They came here over 60 years ago. I'll take that back, 75 years ago now, to provide a better life for myself and my 10 brothers and sisters. And we've been doing that the whole time. They taught us to be respectful. They taught us the value of schooling, being that they only had first and second grade education before they came here to the States. And all of us took that to heart and made sure that we did all that we can to make them proud. After graduating from San Fernando High School, I went ahead and went to UCSB and earned my degree in mechanical engineering. After graduating from UC Santa Barbara, I went ahead and started working for the phone company in 1986 in San Francisco. I worked there for 2 years as an outside plant engineer and came back to my home in Los Angeles and continued my career and continued that career for 35 years with the phone company. During that time, I thankfully had a 2-year leave of absence, and I was able to be a commissioner of the Board of Public Works between 2007 and 2009 under Mayor Villaraigosa. And that was an eye-opening experience for me because I learned so much more about the beautiful city that I live in and the background, the infrastructure. Being an engineer, I'm all about infrastructure and projects. My last assignment with the phone company, I was a senior project manager, and I had responsibility for the state of Montana, the state of Idaho, Clark County, Nevada, and 4 counties in Central California. Every single capital project in that area was my responsibility. So I know what it's like to have a lot of balls in the air and juggling. And like everybody else, we had budget cuts, and we had to make sure that we can do as much as we can with the little that we had. And I've had that my whole career. And one of the things that I learned from day one when I started working in San Francisco was that I had to meet the people that were actually implementing the work that I was designing. So I would meet with every single group, the pole climbers, the folks in the manholes, the folks laying the cables on the poles, the splicers, and they taught me to be a better engineer, to go ahead and build it so that design it in a way that they can build it better. And I've carried that experience throughout my whole career with the phone company. When I was doing projects in all of the various buildings throughout the states, I always talk to the folks on the ground to say, okay, what is it that you need? It might be a chiller, it might be a roof, but what else do you need while I'm here? I might have a little bit of my budget to go ahead and fix that leak in the bathroom or to fix that carpet in the room. So whatever I could do while I was there, because I knew once I left, nobody else was going to go in there with any capital money to go ahead and do that work. So I kept that work ethic with me my whole career, and that's what I look forward to do when I come back here to the Board of Public Works. Because the last time I was here, it's been a while, over 15 years. But just as an example, I was a primary for street services, and just an example of what they used to do, and hopefully they still don't do this. They would come in and provide the yard cleaning services, and they would bring pictures, Polaroid pictures, of every single location. And I'm like, wait, this was in 07, 08. I was like, we have digital cameras. Why are we wasting Polaroids? What are you going to do in 5 years when Polaroids don't exist?
Sounds about right.
Street services, please tell me you're not doing that anymore. So just an example of how it was then, and what I would like to do if I'm given the opportunity to come back is I need to see what functions that we're doing now, because the things that I did back then aren't happening anymore. Hopefully, at least the bad ones or the not so good ones aren't happening anymore. But one experience that I did have when I was a commissioner is we had a summer internship program for high school students, and we would bring in, I think we hired, it was 50 or 60 students for 6 weeks, and they were spread across the bureaus. You remember that, Michael? They're spread across the bureaus and spread across all those contractors, engineering firms, architectural firms, to give them an experience of what it's like to actually have a professional job. Now, not every single one of those students went ahead and landed those careers, but they had six weeks in their lives where they were able to look through a window that they probably never thought existed, and had that opportunity to look at that and see what it's like to do that. I know for a fact that a few of them actually went and became engineers, because I kept in touch with a couple of them. But the point is giving opportunities. If you're not given an opportunity, you're not going to do anything. So giving students an opportunity, that's one thing that hopefully, if I'm brought back, I can try to bring that back and give back to the community, give back to the young people in Los Angeles, because let's face it, I'm not going to be here forever, and they're going to take over this place. And we need informed, smart folks that know that this city, this building belongs to them. So that's one thing that I like to do. And just to get back, one thing that I like to talk about my community involvement, after my father passed away, we started a foundation. And it's been over 25 years since we've had that foundation. And we've given out scholarships every single year since then. We've given out we're getting close to $2 million in scholarships in the Northeast San Fernando Valley. And having seen all of those students that go through the program and seeing the parents, because we do a student parent orientation and bring those parents in to let them know, because most of those parents never went to college. So we let the parents know how important it is to let their young sons and daughters, especially the daughters, go away and make them proud. So that's something that we've been doing for many, many years. And unfortunately, one of our alumni is not here today. Councilmember Padilla is Andres y Maria Cardenas Family Scholarship recipient from years ago, and she's one of the shining examples of what you can do if given the opportunity. So with that, I'm here to answer any other questions that you may have.
Thank you for sharing about your background and the work you've been doing. So a quick question, Barbara. What year was that internship?
That was in 07 and 08.
Barbara, your department handles the pipes, the sewer pipes, right? Is that? So I did an internship with the Bureau of Sanitation in 2007, 2008, and I was going to be an engineer, but I did not do that.
But now you make.
Now I'm here, and now we write the laws, and so I just wanted to uplift that your work has impacted and reverberated, and some of us have ended up coming back, such Councilman Padilla and myself, in different ways. So thank you for sharing that. What contributions do you believe you can make to the Board of Public Works, and what do you hope to achieve if appointed?
At this point, there's a lot for me to learn. I'm not going to sit here and say that I know everything. I look forward to working with President Kang and getting involved with the ideas that he has and being his right-hand person to make sure that we can make those things happen. One of the changes that's on the board now is every commissioner is given three council districts to work with directly. I look forward to working with the 3 districts that I'm assigned and being that liaison for those constituents and the council members to make sure that whatever issues that they have, even if we cannot complete them, at least we can give them answers as to what we can do, what we cannot do, and why. Most importantly, why we cannot do those things, because it's very important for people to be heard, not just to send in a question and never heard back from is unacceptable in my opinion. So we need to reach out to those constituents and make sure that they're heard and let them know that yes, it's going to take 10 years for the sidewalks to be done, but guess what? In 10 years they will be done. So that's what we need to do is respond to our constituents and let them know that we work for them. And that's what I look forward to doing. The many projects and concepts that President Kang has, I'm excited about working on those with him. So that's what I would look forward to doing if reappointed.
Thank you. Can you share how equity shapes your decision making and how you will ensure it's reflected in your work as a commissioner?
Everywhere I've been in my career, I've been the one or two brown person in the room. So it's always, I don't have to be reminded of why I'm here, what I need to do. And every single one of our districts need to be treated equally and equitably. And that's what I look forward to doing is making sure that no matter what district they're in, if the services are needed, then that's where they need to go. It's not about which district you're in, it's what's needed. And I understand that our budgets are tight. I'm like I told you, I'm used to working with tight budgets, but it doesn't mean we have zero. We have something. And how can we spread that something that we have to make sure we can get as much out of that and stretch it as far as we can. That's what I look forward to doing equitably throughout the districts.
Great, thank you. Great, thank you. I know that's something that we've been pushing a lot, and Councilwoman Hutt, as a chair of transportation, has been leading on that charge. So it's a huge priority for us because splitting the pie 15 ways, it's that, that doesn't get us our bang for our buck. It's doing it with equity and trying to implement different equity lenses and procedures is something that a lot of us have been pushing. So I'm excited to hear that that's at the forefront of your mind as well. Councilwoman?
I just want to thank you for coming back.
My pleasure.
Well, things are all fine.
Right, because that was a different time, certainly was a calmer time. And now we need your expertise more than ever. since you were uncommissioned before. You'll probably run into infrastructure projects that were supposed to be done when you were here the last go around.
Unfortunately.
But what's good about you is that you understood it then, and as we progress, you'll understand where we can go. So I'm excited about you serving. I appreciate you coming back. That's kind of good when you have a house somebody wants to come back to, right? So I'm happy to hear
So,
it.
this is
And
my house too.
yeah, that's right. That's right. So welcome. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for stepping up again, truly. Mr. Espinoza, can you please call, oh wait, I'm recommending we approve the mayor's commission appointment. Can I get a second, please?
A second.
Thank you. Mr. Espinoza, can you please call the roll for this item?
Yes, Madam Chair. Councilmember Hernandez.
Yes.
Councilmember Padilla is currently absent, and Councilmember Hutt.
Yes.
The appointment of Ernesto Carnes is approved.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, council members. Have a good day.
Yes. That's okay. Compliments all around. Moving on to our next item, Mr. Espinoza, can you please read item 2 into the record?
Thank you. Item number 2 is a report from the City Administrative Officer relative to the 2024-25 Capital and Technology Improvement Expenditure Program year-end reappropriations.
Wonderful. Hi, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us. Ms. Bonilla, can you please take a moment to introduce yourself? And can you please provide us a brief overview of the report and explain what criteria was considered for reappropriating funds and the recommendations from your office?
Good afternoon, Chairwoman Hernandez and Councilwoman Hutt. Daisy Bonilla representing the Office of the City Administrative Officer. Before you is the 24-25 Capital and Technology Improvement Program Year-End Reappropriations Report. This is an annual report prepared by our office to reappropriate funds and allow construction activities to continue on active capital projects that were previously approved by City Council. The report recommends reappropriating account balances as of June 30th, 2025 that are necessary to continue the work for the active projects with the exception of the accounts listed in Attachment A. This is consistent with the 25-26 adopted budget. Attachment A identifies funding that will remain reverted to its original source for the following reasons. Projects are completed, appropriations exceed the project's needs, the projects are wastewater related and have been inactive for 3 years or are not yet ready for construction, or projects that were deferred as part of the 25-26 adopted budget. Attachment B includes a list of special funds referenced in the report, along with the eligible uses of each fund. Attachment C provides an estimate of the total funding recommended for reappropriation, and it's broken down by the funding source. There are no additional impacts to the general fund or special funds related to the authorized projects in this report. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bonilla. I have a couple. What are the main sources of funds that the funding would go back to, and how will the funds be utilized once they are appropriated?
Thank you for your questions. Capital projects are funded through either the general fund or various special funds if they're eligible for those funds, and they are previously approved by City Council, usually through the budget process. For CTIP accounts, the uncommitted funds are swept at the end of the fiscal year, and once this report, if approved by Council, will return that funding back to that original source and to the dedicated project account.
Great, thank you. Councilwoman, any questions? No. Great, thank you. All right. Now, I recommend that we approve the CAO's recommendations. May I get a second, please?
A second.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Mr. Espinoza, can you please call the roll for this item?
Thank you. Councilmember Hernandez.
Yes.
Councilmember Padilla is currently absent, and Councilmember Hutt.
Yes.
This item is approved.
Thank you, Ms. Bonilla.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too.
Now moving on to item 6, Mr. Espinoza, can you please read the item into the record?
Thank you. Item number 6 is a report from the Bureau of Engineering relative to finalizing financial authority and commitments to award the construction contract for the Glendale Hyperion Bridge Improvement Project and execute required agreements.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. Can you please take a moment to introduce yourselves and please begin the brief presentation?
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Council Member. My name is Katie Doherty. I am the Deputy City Engineer with the Bureau of Engineering. I have with me Andrew Osfor. He is our project manager for this project. Thank you for allowing us to present it to you today, and he's going to run through the brief presentation.
Okay, sounds great. Greetings, esteemed council members. As Katie mentioned, my name is Andrew Osfor. I'm a senior civil engineer in the Bureau of Engineering Bridge Improvement Division. The purpose of my presentation today is to provide a background and necessary contextual information for the Glendale Hyperion Improvement Project for the subject council file number 05-0173 for funding authorization and construction award approval. So I'd like to provide just a brief background of the Glendale Hyperion project. The Glendale Hyperion Bridge is an iconic landmark in the city of Los Angeles. It is located in council districts number 4 and 13 and traverses the Los Angeles River and the I-5 freeway. The viaduct complex is a major transit artery which connects the Silver Lake and Atwater Village communities to the city of Glendale. The bridge itself was constructed in 1929 as a World War I memorial and has been identified as historic. A fun fact about the bridge is that a replica of it is actually featured at Disneyland's California Adventure. The bridge is nearly 100 years old and is well beyond its service life. It is seismically vulnerable and is bounded by several active fault lines. Now moving on to the proposed improvements for the Glendale Hyperion project. So the proposed scope of the project is to seismically retrofit the bridge to be able to properly resist earthquake loads, to structurally widen the bridge to accommodate mobility improvements, and to historically preserve the Art Deco aesthetic of the bridge. In conjunction with the coordination with Caltrans for the project will also reconfigure the I-5 off-ramp to address longstanding traffic safety and local access concerns. It will transform the aging and seismically vulnerable Glendale Hyperion Viaduct into a modern multimodal corridor featuring new bike lanes and enhanced pedestrian access. The approved traffic control plans for the project will continuously have one lane of traffic open in each direction during the construction duration, which is projected to be approximately 5 years. The Red Car pedestrian bridge, which was constructed in 2021, will act as a pedestrian circulation mitigation during construction. Now I'd like to discuss the budget summary for the project. So the project received 2 bids on July 24th, 2024, with a low bid coming in at approximately $208.8 million. In accordance with Caltrans Local Assistance Procedures Guidelines, the budget shall include a 10% contingency and a 10% construction engineering contribution. And so when we the construction engineering includes consultant costs and city staff soft costs. So the total construction budget inclusive of the bid amount and the contingency and construction engineering is approximately $250.6 million. So Caltrans, the project sponsor, has provided a funding offer for the project to provide $221.8 million in federal highway bridge program funds with a contribution of $11 million in state Proposition 1B funds. Based upon the provided discretionary grant funds, the city's burden of local match will be approximately $17.7 million.
So out of the whole project, we will only pay $17 million.
Correct. There's a few more caveats, which I'll get into in the next slide.
Okay, but what's the catch?
Yeah. So I guess here we could talk about the catch. So there's a few caveats to the Caltrans agreement. So the first caveat is obviously the project will be capped to any future funding requests beyond what Caltrans has offered. So in the past, when we've had, HPP funded projects, if there are unforeseen conditions, we can approach Caltrans and request additional funds. Due to the magnitude of the project, they've capped us at the $250 million budget. The second and the most critical, caveat is the city is required to cash flow and front fund the project. And will be reimbursed on a quarterly basis for construction expenditures by Caltrans. Caltrans has also capped the annual reimbursement for the project at $20 million. And the third caveat is if in the event that the city intends to borrow or take on a bond for cash flow purposes, Caltrans will not provide reimbursement for interest costs on borrowing. So with these caveats in place, I would like to now talk about some of the benefits of the Caltrans offer. So Caltrans has grandfathered the project into the 88.53% reimbursement ratio for all construction expenditures. So just to give you an idea, for newer projects programmed into the HBP program, they're subject to reduced reimbursement rates, some as little as 50%. Second, the Caltrans has also contributed $11 million in Prop 1B funds to be used towards the city's burden of the local match. New projects are no longer eligible for this contribution. So now I'd like to talk about the front funding requirement. So as mentioned in the previous slide, the city will be responsible for cash flowing the project, and as such, the project will require a significant front funding commitment from city local funding sources. $30 million was committed in the fiscal year 25-26 CTIP physical plant program. A continuing annual expenditure will be required through fiscal year 28-29 to meet the projected cash flow needs. Starting in fiscal year 29-30, the rate of state reimbursements will finally outpace the project expenditures, allowing that repayment to then be reinvested in other capital projects. The report seeks approval of a commitment to meet the project's cash flow needs in future fiscal years as described and detailed in the attachment to the council report. We expect to work with the CAO on an annual basis to determine the source of funds, which might include either cash through the annual CTIP, financing as through MICLA, or some other combination thereof. Such a commitment is needed to award the project and minimize project risk. The project is also eligible for a wide range of special funds available to transportation projects. While it could utilize a significant share of resources available for capital projects in coming years, it would not have a direct impact on the general fund. Now, I'd just like to summarize and reiterate the requested council actions. The first being the approval of the Caltrans funding package. Second is to authorize, to provide the authority to execute the agreements and the local match. Third is to approve, front funding authority. And the fourth would be to delegate technical changes to the city engineer. So in conclusion, I would just like to reiterate that the Glendale-Hyperion Bridge is an iconic landmark in the city of Los Angeles. It is seismically vulnerable, and our project aims to improve public safety, preserve the history. It is time sensitive as the contractor who submitted the low bid is extending their bid bonds on a monthly basis, and Caltrans, there is no time limit on Caltrans' funding offer, but with the variability, with the federal government, the longer we wait, the more difficult establishing the funds could be. This concludes my presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Can you go back to the slide? Not this last slide, the one before it. Thank you. Just keep it there, please. Thank you. I have a handful of questions. So where will the 102 come from? The 102 million is a question. What is it? So if they're going to pay us $20 million back every year, how long before we get the full amount back? Let's start with those, and then I have some tariff questions.
Yeah, great question. Great question. Thank you. So as mentioned in the presentation and the report, Caltrans is committed to providing $20 million a year in reimbursement. There is a potential that reimbursement could be accelerated by Caltrans. We can request an additional reimbursement of $20 million if we have 50% expended for that fiscal year. It's a local assistance requirement. So in some years, if there's capacity available at the state level, we could receive $40 million a year in reimbursement. That's at the mercy, basically, of Caltrans. So as it stands, the project was given $30 million in the CTIP physical plant program. That's for cash flow purposes. We're requesting just an increase in that to minimize the risk for construction expenditures for the contractor. Basically, with a project of this magnitude, we're projecting anywhere between 30 to 60 to even 70 million years in expenditures for some years, and we would like to have a larger commitment of local funds. Now, as mentioned, that could either be through the CTIP or could be financing through MICLA or another local funding source, essentially.
The 102 million, you're saying we could do, would it be like 70 million or would it be the 102 million?
So that's the amount which we had projected would bring us to the midpoint of construction. The amount which would basically allow us to reach a point where the reimbursements will start to outpace the construction expenditure. So that will bring us to around fiscal year 28-29, and we project the project to be fully paid off I would assume in around fiscal year 23, 24, or 33, 24, sorry, 33, 34, or 34, 35.
Okay, so like 9 to 10 years. Okay.
Council members, I'm David Hirano from the Office of the CAO. If I may help with answering that question, the $102 million is a goal, and the way we interpret it is it would not change the 25-26 budget at this point. The $30 million that's in the 25-26 budget should be sufficient for front funding through the fiscal year 25-26. So we would be looking for front funding for future fiscal years. The
Through
project-
CTIP or through MICLA.
through whatever mechanism is necessary to complete the bridge project.
Because y'all, we don't have no money. That's why I'm asking. No,
Well, yeah, correct. But we're also not going to leave a bridge half done.
Of
correct?
course, of course.
So over the next 5 years of planned construction, we'll be working with the Bureau of Engineering to try and identify the front funding needs, incremental funding needs of each year, and make a recommendation to you and the mayor as the budgets proceed. So whether it's 102 million or whether it's another number, we will be working with them to try and provide the correct funding on time so the project does not stall and it can be completed. Now, realistically, we know that a lot of major projects like this do get delayed for various reasons. And so that will come into play as well if that happens. Maybe Andrew can make it not happen, but if it happens, that will also come into play. So I interpret this instruction as instruction to our office generally to work on finding front funding that's sufficient to keep the project going, not to come back with a direct appropriation of 102 million in 25-26. So
Great.
and if that is
I
consistent
think you need
with
to make it
your
a little more clear.
Okay,
when
well,
it goes to.
yeah, and if
full
that's
council,
consistent with your
yes.
understanding, then that's what we how we see it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Has the BOE prepared or taken into consideration tariffs, rising material costs, and other economic factors that could potentially impact the budget for this project?
So that's a great question, council member. So this project was submitted for bid. The RFP for the bids for this project came out before the tariffs became a national issue. The bids were received in July of 2024, which were prior to the economic disruptions due to tariffs. So fortunately, the contractor who submitted the low bid has been extending their bid bonds monthly, which is an assurity of their bid prices throughout the duration of the project. Now, having said that, tariffs are something that are unforeseen, and fortunately, we do have a 10% contingency for the project, which is inclusive, which is approximately $20 million. And the city will work with the contractor and review any merit for any requests for additional fees, but that could be borne through our project contingency.
Great, thank you. And please forgive me for this next question, but I feel like I have to ask it. 5 years timeline, right? But the 10 freeway was rebuilt much faster. Anything that we can learn from that? And I know it's like a completely different situation, but I just want to ask that.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and a question that we receive often with our bridge projects. The main thing that's driving the schedule is keeping the bridge open continuously. We're having to detour the traffic plans and work around the improvements while keeping the traffic lanes open continuously throughout the duration of the project. If we were able to close the bridge entirely, we could definitely shorten the schedule. But to not impact the community, we want to keep the bridge open, at least one lane in each direction. We expect, the analysis shows that there's about 4,000 vehicle trips per day during the peak hour. It's a major artery between Northeast LA and Glendale. So it's really the traffic phasing that's going to, drive the schedule.
So you've done traffic analysis in the area then?
Yes.
Has part of that traffic analysis been alternate routes if you had to close down everything?
We could check back to the analysis, but it was mainly just for the trips across the bridge.
Yeah, it'd be great if you could see if there's alternate routes that could be taken in that area. I know it's a major artery, but if you're saying that it could speed up like the construction, what if it takes off like 12 months, or 6 months? I think that's huge timeline wise. So I think if you can explore that, that'd be great.
Yeah, we'll definitely explore that with Caltrans and LADOT.
Thank you. Councilwoman? No? Okay. Great. Thank you. One last question. Can you clarify the time sensitivity around moving this forward?
Yes, so the contractor is extending their bid bonds on a monthly basis.
What does that mean?
So basically, the contractor submitted their bonds, a bond for their bid prices for the construction of the bridge. So it's 208.8 million. So their original bid bond lasts for 3 months, which basically assures their prices which prevents escalation. So each month that we go beyond that original 3 month, we ask them to extend their bid bond to assure their prices. So it was July 2024 when we received the bid. So here we are almost a year later. And obviously with tariffs and with other things, they're still extending their bid bond. But likely if we wait too much longer, it may be tough for the contractor to extend their bid bonds.
Do they have to pay to extend their bid bonds, or what is that process?
They do. I don't think it's an exorbitant amount, but there is a fee associated with it.
Okay, thank you. Colleagues, Councilwoman Hutt, I recommend we approve the BOE recommendations. May I get a second? A second. Thank you. Mr. Espinoza, can you please call the roll for this item?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Councilmember Hernandez.
Yes.
Councilmember Padilla is currently absent, and Councilmember Hutt.
Aye.
This item is approved.
Great, thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and go to item number 1. Mr. Espinoza, can you please read that item into the record?
Thank you. Item number 1 is a verbal discussion from the Department of Public Works, including each of the Public Works bureaus and the Board of Public Works, relative to the service and program departmental impacts of the 2025-26 budget.
Great, thank you so much. Colleagues, for this item, we'll be focusing on the adopted 2025-2026 budget for the Board of Public Works and the bureaus. We have a total of 6 presentations, so let's keep it tight. We'll start with BSL, followed by BSS, BOE, LA SAN, BCA, and end with Board of Public Works. In summary, we are interested in learning about, number 1, the level of programs and services that will be delivered in this new fiscal year. 2, any impacts to programs or services from the adoption of the 25-26 budget. For example, tree trimming cycle going from 15 years to 17 years. Those kind of things we want to hear. Any challenges you face in conducting services or completing projects, and if there are any streamlining opportunities or bottlenecks that can be addressed. Thank you so much, BSL representatives for joining us. Can you please introduce yourselves and begin with your presentation?
Good afternoon, members. Miguel Sanglang with the Bureau of Street Lighting. I'm joined by Megan Hackney. My presentation will be essentially broken up into 2 phases, which talks about what is in the budget and then its effects. So if if we're looking at slide 2, it's a quick snapshot of yesterday and today. A couple fiscal years ago was our highest kind of level of staffing and funding that we've had in the Bureau in the Bureau's history. A little over 405 staff. Essentially, for the last 2 years, though, we have a drop about 22.2% in staff up until next fiscal year, and that brings us very similar to about 2010 levels from where we're at. So about 5 years back. The next slide that we have, slide 3, essentially the adopted budget preserves the Bureau to the greatest extent it can. There are still losses that will have service impacts, as you're asking about. It listed below are some of the main ones: vacant position eliminations. There's net about 14 that we're losing, 9 filled position eliminations, hiring haul and salaries. I'll get to why that is important. That essentially means that there is around 10 or so that we would have to immediately terminate as well. The elimination of our only forward-looking, more proactive service, which was the LED replacement program. And that little parentheses that you see is that we have about 60,000 LED lights that are end of life. By the end of the fiscal year, we expect that to go to around 80,000 fixtures that are end of life. A reminder that our infrastructure, we have 250,000 streetlights, so that essentially means a third of our streetlights are going to be end of life when it comes to the bulb itself. So either burnout, lower quality, any of the above. Overtime reduction, that will obviously slow some of the repairs that we have down. And one ongoing issue we have is just the energy costs, where it's about tune of $7.3 million where we're short for the energy bills that we're going to have to pay for next year.
So like paying DWP?
Yes.
And then real quick for the end of life replacement program, that you said 1/3 of streetlights, right?
Yes, by the end of next fiscal year, about a third of our streetlights.
Next fiscal year. Okay, thank you.
Major impacts. The top line is that our expected repair times. I've talked when we were in Budget and Finance Committee about our expectation to go from what we have around now 9 months to about a year. What we're looking at based off of just some of the losses plus just additional work that's been going on, additional service requests and issues that we have in the field. Probably by the end of the fiscal year, we're looking at around a year and a half when it comes to our repair times for streetlights. Mind you, about 10 years ago, we were at 2 days. Right, so there's a massive increase when it comes to about the repair times. The related kind of budgetary drivers there is, again, the loss of positions that we have, 5 directly related to the copper wire and power theft kind of restoration and fortification programs we have. Those are the ones where, we're building the biggest castles that we can. And then the hiring hall losses, which endanger our ability to get welders, cement finishers, things that we need to actually continue to build some of these castles. So we're getting tighter and tighter on that as well. I think one of the other things that I just learned today, we have a total of 17 derrick trucks. These are the big trucks that actually pull poles up, right? 14 of them are down. So there's a huge kind of like maintenance backlog for just fleet and equipment that we're dealing with. That means that we won't be able to get to pole hits, right, when we're trying to do that or even do some of the fixes that we have on a regular basis. Moving forward, another major impact is just the slowed project support that we'll be able to do for our sister bureaus and departments. It's harder for us to quantify what that truly means right now. Because I think all my colleagues will probably talk about how their projects are impacted. But again, some reductions within our engineering means that we won't have the ability to be as agile as we were in previous years. There's been times, right, where we've been able to either do construction ourselves or engineering ourselves that actually drove down costs. We just expect that there's going to be more time and more costs that will be included in future projects that we do. And then at the very bottom, there's one line where there had been a service of the city where there's DWP utility lights that were previously requested. We had managed that on our end. That was eliminated during the budget, so DWP will actually have to handle that program. We are exiting that July 1st. The next major impact, it's fairly straightforward, but it has a slide just because it's a big number. We don't have enough to pay our power bill. We will have to deal with it in future. We hope that in the future we're able to right-size the assessment. As I mentioned before, we're looking to have a proposal of the package that will come before this committee and then council around a new assessment for the Bureau. We're still working on the necessary contracting support, and so that's under city attorney review right now. We hope to still do that, though, within the summer timeline. So end of July, beginning of August or so is our tentative timeline on our end. I guess I'll end on a nicer note. The augmentation of the STAP program for support on regular repairs and maintenance. This was a positive on our end, something that we worked with the Bureau of Street Services on. There's additional positions for the STAP program that will essentially ensure, it would be a dedicated field crew on the heavy construction side that would essentially ensure that we are able to prioritize repairs around the street transit amenities program to keep the uptime for all of the street furniture that is going to be installed. This would prevent us from losing revenues with downtime for any of the advertising that would be going on there as well. and additional engineering support in order to make sure that we get the plans through as quickly as possible so that we can deploy those, again, in partnership with Bureau of Street Services. I'll just end with separate but related, because our soon to be, hopefully with full confirmation, President Kang was talking about revenue generation. That is top of mind for us too. And as I mentioned, we'll have two reports, I think, for this committee to be aware of. One thing is that the budget had directed us to do a review of all of our permits, fees for attachments. So we'll have that soon. We're trying to work, hopefully within the next couple weeks, to give us a little bit more options for revenue generation next year. And again, I just mentioned, but relatedly, there will be the package for the assessment then that we're hoping to bring forward, which would then initiate the process for a vote in hopefully the fall timeframe. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Miguel. My question is around the assessment. Can you give us a little more details on when that's expected? You said the fall, but what does that mean? Like, is it the ballot will go out or what? Yeah, just one more detail.
Yeah, and happy to. And it's hard to talk concrete, but we're obviously hoping to have the ordinance packages that would include the, excuse me, the ordinance of intention that allows us to go out for a ballot vote. We're going to have the engineer's report. This is why we need the consultant support to formulate the engineer's report, and then the ballot schedule and ballot creation kind of work that we'll have to do too. So those are all wrapped up into the consultant resources that we're asking for. That will, in our package, what I am hoping to write, I'm telegraphing a little bit here of what you're going to expect in a report, but we are hoping to write that we will have the actual ballot vote due likely by the end of October, beginning of November, which will mean that 45 days before, around September or so, we're hoping to then release the actual ballot. There's 45 days that is required as a period to actually collect all these votes. That will give us time. Again, it'll take us a couple months to just get all of the reports and all of the engineering in order to verify the veracity, right, of the ballots themselves. Each single property will have its own calculation that we have to do. So a lot of that is going to go through fact checking in the months ahead of that. So, but again, my timeline is for a late October, early November, final vote. With then, again, telegraphing a bit, our hope is a recommendation that the council accepts and the mayor accepts, where we're hoping that our effective date would be January 1st, so in the middle of the fiscal year.
Thank you for that. And when do you think we'll start seeing the benefits of its passage?
We would see the benefits of its passage in the next fiscal year. So fiscal year 26-27, we would be able to actually, it would be great timing. We would know what's actually in our future. We would be then working with the mayor's office for the next budget and the next budget proposal as to how to allocate that. But immediately thereafter in that fiscal year, we do have some strategies that I will be sharing, but there's going to be a focus on trying to hopefully buy some of our way to fixing our lights. What I mean by buying is using solar and battery, right? So that would be an expanded program that we're looking at in order to address a percentage of the system where we have repeat vandalism, right? There's going to be augmentations in hiring then that we would have. We would be looking to hire X number of staff, right, dependent on what is approved. Those we can almost immediately go into. And I suspect that, within our suite of solutions for the following fiscal year, contracting is going to be on the table for us, right, to try and augment our resources just because the hiring process alone takes a while. Looking at hiring hall and expanding that, right, we've shrunk. We went from 40 hiring also? I forget. Sorry, I'm not. Okay. But anyway, we went from 40. Today we have around 21, right? But we're going to lose another 10. So it's a quarter of what it used to be. So I think that we'd easily go up 30 staff around that level and then some if we actually put out the call, which would augment our field forces almost immediately.
And a pole replacement program, right?
And we would be doing the things that people expect us to do. We would be replacing the bulbs. We would be fixing the poles that are damaged and beyond service life. We would also be repairing the conduit in the ground.
Beautiful. Can't wait to see that out. Can you please talk to us a little bit about the 5 positions cut to copper wire theft and restoration and fortification? What does that mean in practice? Can you provide an approximate quantity of how many fewer streetlights would be restored / fortified?
So, go ahead. With that, some of the positions, essentially a crew was lost when we're talking about the cuts to the copper wire power theft restoration. It was one electrician, an assistant, mechanical helper, and a couple other positions as well. Looking for it. But essentially a crew was lost. So that would accrue for that work tends to do around 10 to 15 service requests a week. So we're essentially losing that number. Per crew, yes. It's the heavier construction, so it takes a little bit longer. Sometimes our maintenance crews are able to pump out 20 to 30, right? But because it is that heavier construction usually, for us it slows down to 10 to 15, sometimes 7 for the crew itself.
Got it. Depends on the size, right? Because sometimes it's a lot of blocks, and they got to do that thing that blows the wind all the way through.
Yeah.
I was out there with one of them. So it gets rid of one crew.
One crew.
Leaving us with how many crews?
In total, I think we have about 16 left. I think we have 16 left.
Okay. And what delays will we be seeing there? I know you said they do about 15 per day, right?
Yes. If I may speak about it a little bit differently, when we're talking about delays, there's delays just because of the scope of the problem already. I think what will happen is, I'm giving you a range right now where it's 1.5 years. That can creep up then to 1.6, right? It's really more about that type of delays that we'll see on the overall in the longer run, rather than a specific one for today, right? That's how I would kind of correlate how it would affect the longer kind of timelines.
Great, thank you. And last question before I pass it to my colleague. Some of us have put in our discretionary dollars to pay for overtime to get some of our lights fixed. With the cuts that I'm seeing to your department, is that something that we should still do, or if we do it, like there's not enough teams to do it? Just want some clarity there.
I think for overtime, especially how it's formulated now, how we're working with each of the council districts, there's actually probably a lot of bandwidth for us to keep doing it. In other words, if we would like more lights fixed, it continues to be an option on the table for us to accelerate things. Over time, last year we lost $1 million. This year, we lost 200,000. Right. I actually expect that we're able to probably spend around $4 million easily in any given fiscal year with the staff that we have right now.
Got it.
So there's a lot of space there.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you. So we'll be on the lookout for that assessment. We'll looking forward to the review of the permits and the fees. And just for clarity, your department is losing vacant positions, filled positions, hiring hall positions, overtime reduction, and money to replace our LED light bulbs, which has is leading to increase in times for repair. Yes, just want to make sure I understood that correctly.
In summation, that's correct. Again, we're slowly getting smaller.
Mhm.
It is causing creep on the other side then when we're talking about the repairs. Again, for two things, right? The environment that we now are in, which has theft and vandalism, but also deferred maintenance that has been just accumulating, right? And so the loss does not help our ability to try and fix that other side of the equation.
Great, thank you. And actually, one more last question. You said 14 pole trucks?
Yes.
Are out. Are those the rental ones, or are those like in-house ones?
Those are BSL fleet.
Okay. And then what's the lifespan on those, and where are they on their life?
Oh, that I can get back to you on that. So we'll have that next time.
Great. And what the cost would be like, or if they're bought through Mikla, that would be good to know.
Right.
Because I know the Mikla, like it went through the budget, but it's still coming back to us.
Right.
And perhaps there's changes that could be made there.
Right.
So-
Well, generally speaking, it is purchased through Mikla. I think the challenge for us, right, is one, we still need to buy new because there are some, I don't know the top of my head, but there are some that are end of life as well. But also, it's the sister departments then that we need GSD at the table, right? And we need to be able to ask them for support in order to get some of these fleets and equipment back up and running.
Okay. That's good to know that we can follow up with that too on the side.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for this, Councilwoman.
No question.
Okay.
Great.
Thank
Thank you. Appreciate y'all. Okay. Next is BSS.
Good afternoon, council members. Shirley Lau with the Bureau of Street Services. I'm here with my colleague Angelo Yanko. So let's see, we'll pull up our presentation.
You want me to open up the window so that it's...
Apologies, some technical issues here. All right, here we go. So I'll go ahead and just start with the second slide, which represents a 3-year lookout on the budget of street services. So as you can see, since 23-24, we've had a significant reduction in our budget and also our positions. It represents a 26% overall decrease in the Bureau, which is like a quarter of the Bureau. So just for the difference between the budget since 23-24, it's a $60.6 million decrease, and for positions, it's a 416 loss of authorities in the Bureau. So, of course,
that is wild. In just 3 fiscal cycles,
correct.
A 26% reduction.
Correct.
Can you just take one moment real quick before you continue to let the people know that are listening, what is it that you all cover within your department, just really quickly, like your responsibilities, like the tangible stuff, the streets, the things.
Yes, I'll also go ahead in further in the presentation, but in general, we have our pavement preservation program, and that is paving our streets, maintaining our streets and our street network in good condition. We also have street maintenance, which is sweeping of the streets also, and then clearing of debris that is in our roadway and the public right-of-way. We also take care of emergency services when there are mudslides, landslides. We're being called to take care of trees that are in the roadway during windstorms. So in addition to that, we have capital programs. We construct our own access ramps. We assist the Bureau of Engineering in some sidewalk repair work. And lastly, and I'll mention this later on, we do have a very robust grants program, and that is being constructed by some of our crews. And I don't want to forget our investigation and enforcement division, who are so crucial in implementing a lot of public right-of-way obstructions and ADA and sidewalk vending matters.
Beautiful, thank you.
So the next slide. Yes, so all the slides here on is just the numbers are from 24-25 to 25-26. So this is just a 1-year reduction. So for pavement preservation program, it's a reduction in 28% of the budget, and also 18 vacancies deleted. So this will definitely shift our program. As you can see, our 25-26 anticipated work, we're looking at less resurfacing. We're also looking at roughly the same miles for slurry seal, but we are pivoting to large asphalt repairs, which is still needed in the city. It's a form of pavement preservation. And we intend to work on that because the reduction in the budget, the funding, is mainly in our construction expenses, which is our asphalt materials, and also some of our expenses for our trucking, which have been reduced. And so we're pivoting temporarily to this matter of pavement preservation to deliver, still to maintain our street network. But definitely there is an impact for the coming fiscal year.
Can you tell us the difference between the resurfacing and the large asphalt repairs?
Yes, so the resurfacing would be the entire street from curb to curb, the whole roadway width, and usually from intersection to intersection, or many intersections. But the large asphalt repairs, usually, if you can see some of your roadways, they have a rutting or the pavement is looking in poor conditions, usually due to trucks, a lot of trucks, and just wear and tear over the years. And they're usually limited to smaller segments and not the whole roadway width. They're just portions.
Got it. Thank you.
So the next slide we have combined street maintenance and street sweeping. So there's a budget reduction of 23% and 39 vacancies deleted for the upcoming fiscal year. We expect that there will be an increase in wait time when there's emergencies for landslides and mudslides, just due to less number of available staff. And also during the heavy rainy season, we do expect a increase in the response time to our potholes. Right now, we currently have a 3 to 5 working days for pothole repairs, and we expect it to increase to 5 to 7 working days. Additionally, our sweeping on the open routes, specifically on the commercial corridors, right now it's 3 weeks. And we anticipate that in 25-26, it might go up to quarterly to sweep that. And the reason is a lot of our 39 vacancies that's listed above, we have motor sweepers, we have truck operators, heavy duty truck operators, and so that impacts a lot of our services in street maintenance and street sweeping.
And by bi-weekly, does that mean that you hit one side of the street one week, and then the following week it's the other side of the street? Or it's that in 1 week you do both sides, and then it's the following week you do both sides? And the reason I ask is because on my block, I'm experiencing that where it's one side every week, and it's been like that for a few weeks already. So I want to understand what you mean by bi-weekly.
Bi-weekly should be that entire street. Bi-weekly.
Got it. Okay, great. Thank you.
For the next division, our urban forestry division, it has a budget reduction of 12% and 45 vacancies deleted. So we expect when there are tree emergencies that there will be an increase in time to respond from 3 days to 4 days. Our tree trimming cycle will remain roughly 17 years, but you do see the slight decrease in the number of trees trimmed and the number of trees being planted. The next slide, we have our construction services division. The budget reduction is 2%, but there are 46 vacancies deleted, which for a smaller division as construction services division, it's about a 19% representation. So 46 vacancies is about 19% of the division. We were helping with the sidewalk repair program, 5 concrete crews and some urban forestry staff for the Bureau of Engineering sidewalk repair program, but from the adopted budget, 2 crews will be reassigned, and so they will help us with our pavement preservation access ramps. So we do anticipate to increase the number of ramps next year.
Because of the movement of those 2 teams?
Yes. This slide shows our investigation and enforcement division, budget reduction of 22% and then 12 vacancies deleted. This is one of our smallest divisions, so 12 vacancies does represent 19% of the division. And we do anticipate that there will be some further delays in inspection of various obstruction requests. And, their work is very specialized, and so I think 12 vacancies definitely impacts our operations. And lastly, I just wanted to go over, just highlight 3 of the challenges and go over that really quickly. So we are experiencing attrition, which is quite high, or transfers to proprietary departments, roughly 7 to 10 employees per month. And so, we do hope that in collaboration with the CAO's office, we do ensure that these positions are backfilled in a timely manner. They're very critical to the continuity of the Bureau's operations, especially our operational staff. One of the other challenges that I think Bureau of Street Lighting also mentioned is our aging fleet vehicles and equipment. They do require quick repairs, so we don't have a loss of productivity. And definitely we'll work with GSD to review any possibility if we can either increase their capacity or utilize contractual services so we can ensure the maintenance of our fleet and equipment. Lastly, we do have a large portfolio of grant projects, over $550 million, and we do require more staff to ensure we don't lose grant funds. And so working with other departments such as LADOT and BOE, we may be requesting off-budget positions dedicated to just implementing those grant-funded projects. And lastly, also ending on a more positive note, I do want to thank the council members, your support on the STAP program, and working with BSL, we do intend to move quickly in increasing our number of shelters being installed, and then increasing that revenue next fiscal year. And another item that we would like to bring forward to, as far as collaboration and working together, we are working closely with DOT and the other sister bureaus on games projects and other projects in the city to ensure timely implementation. So that concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. I just have one. How will fewer anticipated resurfacing miles impact BSS's implementation of Measure HLA?
So we are working closely with LADOT, and they do have a list of potential HLA projects moving forward. So not all the HLA projects require resurfacing. Some actual streets are in good condition, so DOT can go out and if it works for them, they can go out and implement their HLA projects. Additionally, some streets we can just do a slurry coat, and that would be sufficient. And then we will work with them on the resurfacing ones because we do need the ramps installed before resurfacing. But there are options of all types of, pavement preservation to implement HLA.
Great, thank you so much. No questions? Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate y'all. Next is BOE. And BOE, this is thick. So let's, we got a handful more.
I think it was only single-sided.
Okay. Oh, yes. It's beautiful. Thank you.
So,
please introduce yourselves.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Robert Kalamatu, Chief Financial Officer for the Bureau of Engineering. And with me today,
I'm Eric Bruins. I'm our Director of Strategic Initiatives on our executive team.
And before you today is, actually, you wanted us to speak about the Bureau of Engineering and what we do. Like the other bureaus.
Please, yes.
So the Bureau of Engineering is basically the city's choice for capital project delivery. A large number of the CTIEP projects we are responsible for delivering. We also have an architectural division that designs projects. And so right now, well, previous to right now, I think we had almost a $5 billion portfolio of construction projects, which is being reduced because of the adopted budget. However, we're still trying to deliver the projects that we can based on the resources that we have left.
Great, thank you. And when you say you're responsible for the delivery of the projects, what does that actually mean on application?
Right. So we have project managers who are at the construction site watching the contractors building or digging or what have you. We also have construction managers who well, actually, sorry, the project manager is over the whole project. The construction manager is probably at the site watching all of the building getting done, digging, et cetera, like that. And so all these people, coupled with inspectors from the Bureau of Contract Administration, they're all there watching to make sure that we get the capital project that we hoped for. And so that's the majority of what we do is to deliver these capital projects for the city.
Got it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And so just briefly, for the proposed budget, this fiscal year, we had 915 positions, of which the proposed budget identified cutting about 131 positions, of which 91 were filled. Thanks to the collaboration with the council members and the Budget and Finance Committee, we were able to change some of the funding, use some of the special funds, and also get our fee study completed and submitted to the city attorney's office so that our development services program would more closely approach full cost recovery. And that, because of those things, the end result is the adopted budget had 55 position cuts, of which there are 23 filled, except we found places for all 23 people. So at the end of the day, well, next Monday, the 30th, all 23 people will be vacating out those positions. And Tuesday the 1st, all 55 will be vacant when they are cut. So the next bullet, basically this is a recurring theme here of staff cuts and their impact on our ability to deliver our projects and engineering services on the spectrum of projects that we work on. Within the CTIEP, there was also cuts to projects as well as decarb projects that funding was swept. And so a number of these projects were already on our schedule and they're being deleted because they're no longer funded in the budget. And once again, at the bottom here, the vacancies also affect us. And right now we're trying to get through this transfer portal process, expedited transfer process with the personnel department to hire people who are maybe subject to layoff. So we're trying to work that and hire people from other departments who are subject to layoff. And so, as I mentioned earlier, our development services program in the budget, we're working on getting our fee study finalized, and I believe the city attorney is going to be submitting that to the council soon. And so only 8 positions, which was originally more than 40, were ultimately cut, and they're all vacant at this time. Oops, sorry. And basically all these individuals in the development service program, almost they work exclusively in permitting the public right-of-way. So, sorry. So as far as our municipal facilities program, we had a total of 12 cuts out of 93. Excuse me. And most of these individuals and positions are, most of the positions are general funded, or the majority of funding is general funded. And there are some special funds that offset the cost of some of our positions that come from Prop K or Rec and Parks. But for the most part, our municipal facilities program is majority general fund funded. And I said it earlier, there was quite a few decarbonization projects that were put on hold and funding swept. I think there was a healthy discussion about this during the council hearings on the budget, but hopefully there will be funding in the future to continue on this effort. And stormwater and flood control program, because the Stormwater Pollution Abatement Fund is general fund, I believe the CAO calls it subsidized. They see it as general fund money, and so a lot of our stormwater positions were originally cut out of, and we had 4 left that were cut. but ultimately it's going to impact our ability to do emergency storm drain repair as well as flood zone clearances. So it may be more timely to get those things done.
What does that mean?
Flood
Flood zone clearances are required in order for building and safety to give out a certificate of occupancy for businesses and residences in flood zones. And so for if you are in a portion of the city that is considered to be within the flood zone, you are required to have this clearance, which requires staff to verify that it's basically safe to occupy the building inside despite the flood risk.
So you're saying as a city, we're not going to have those positions anymore?
I believe we're talking. The processing time will be reduced. I think it might be like 1 of 2 people that do that specifically are cut.
Yeah,
Got it.
We'll have 7 left, but 10, 12 years ago, this section was over 30 people, and slowly but surely, because of the general fund subsidization of this special fund, this funding source and these projects have been cut from the Bureau of Engineering.
And are these permits? Do people have to pay for the permits and certificates?
The flood zone clearances?
Yeah.
No, they don't pay us.
So it's work that we do without payment. And I'm asking because since you already did you're doing your report or did your report, if these permits and certificates will be included in that.
These are part of development. This is something we do. It's related to development services. It's something where development services is relying on the expertise of a different group. I think we will take that back and make sure that we are at full cost recovery specifically for processing the permits and clearances.
Great, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Okay. And then for our clean water program, there were no cuts to our program, clean water division. So our safe clean water projects and our stormwater parks capture projects with DWP will continue on schedule. Right now, staff working on LA River projects, those positions were restored, but some of the funding for some of these projects are in jeopardy. So we're going to work with the CAO to make sure that we have enough money to move forward over the next few fiscal years to complete these projects. And for our wastewater program, which is the largest program in our bureau, we had no cuts as well. So as far as SCM projects are concerned, we will probably be having more individuals in this program to help deliver these projects for LA Sanitation. And once again, like I said earlier, less people working on general funded activities. And for the sidewalk repair program, we had positions cut. And
what did those 2 positions do?
I can't remember. I think one of them might have been administrative, and one of them might have been a civil engineering position.
Yeah.
Okay. And I asked because I feel like we were in closed session not too long ago, and we brought up the fact that there's not enough people to do this. So I'm surprised I didn't see that cut.
Yeah. I believe it's a civil engineer and a management analyst.
Okay.
And those were positions that were vacant at the time.
Got it.
And this division is a bit unique. They administer the settlement, but the work is performed either by VSS crews or by contractors. And so this is more of a design and delivery group. But it's not like we didn't cut somebody who's directly pouring concrete. It is the division also has a high reliance on consultants, and so sometimes there's some fungibility between work that's done by consultants and work that's done by staff, particularly on the design side. So oftentimes you might see a position gained or a position lost on the design side, but actually the work is just shifting from a consultant to in-house and vice versa. So there is some flexibility from year to year to manage that workload.
Great, thank you. Okay.
And then for our street improvement program, we have 10 position cuts out of 73. It is going to impact our ability to deliver some of the projects. We are already going through looking at our project timelines to see what adjustments we can make with the resources that we have remaining in that division. And we'll also be looking at if there are any that can be deferred after, say, design, or deferred prior to design, depending on the phase that the project is in, to save money, or it basically save money without having the city having to outlay any money. And the other thing is the AHSC projects may be affected incrementally by the 10 positions that are being cut. 6 of the 10 were AHSC project.
What is AHSC?
This is the Affordable Housing Sustainable Communities program. It's a state program for the Strategic Growth Council, where basically, in order to qualify, typically the projects are driven by affordable housing developers, where in order to qualify for this source of state money, they have to also deliver a variety of related transportation improvements in the public right-of-way. And the idea is to further kind of smart growth principles of build transportation infrastructure where you're trying to put housing. In reality, what it has meant is that these are projects that are typically doing relatively minor things in the public right-of-way, but they do take a lot of administrative work to deliver, and they aren't necessarily the most strategic projects in terms of like what the city would choose to do if we were initiating capital projects. But in order for the city to achieve its housing goals, we are required to chase the housing developers around the city with these programs. Specifically, what was cut is our construction management capacity. And so we have a number of projects where we are at significant risk of violating the grant terms because we are not delivering these projects fast enough. We had finally started to get additional positions to address the construction management, the construction backlogs, but those positions, that capacity was cut in this budget. And so we are back to where we were, where we are at risk at missing grant deadlines on our housing grants.
Yes, please.
Isn't there a cost recovery associated with those positions, or at least it's cost or at least a cost savings to the city if we're not delayed in those spaces?
There is some staff is able to be billed against the grant, and we do try to maximize that. One of the issues that we have is because we do not have enough people working on grant project delivery. Just generally, we don't hire enough staff to do that. Grants sit between when they're awarded and when we deliver them for 5 years, and that entire time the project costs are escalating. And so by the time we then move to deliver the project, oftentimes it might cost twice as much as it would have if we had delivered it on time. And so then whatever money we're saving and not hiring enough people to deliver the projects on time, we are paying multiple times over in escalation during that time period. And that entire program is facing that exact problem.
And then with this cut, with these cuts, then we'll be further away from our goals. Huh?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, then moving forward, the Bridge Improvement Program, we had one position cut, and I believe we've already talked about the Glendale Hyperion earlier in the committee meeting. And then we had 2 position cuts for our Hillside Slope Stability Program. This is critical during the most recent rain season, where there may have been mudslides, but just a few years ago, there were significant mudslides in the last rainstorm, and our geotechnical engineers were out there in person trying to, provide their engineering services to identify what needs to happen, and I guess direct placement of K-rails, and help the fire department do lane closures, whatever that needed to be, including probably street services and LADOT as well. And for support programs, our survey division lost 6 positions out of a total of 48. So once again, general funded activities are going to suffer. We're going to have our surveyors work on special funded activities because the majority of our positions are now special funded positions in survey. For our structural engineering division, we did lose 3 positions. However, they're vacant. And so we're hoping that they can still provide this level of services that we're able to do because they are vacant. And as far as our system staff, what Ted, the city engineer who recently retired, his issue was providing a long-term maintenance, long-term maintenance of Build LA. I know Ted was integral in getting Build LA off the ground and to get it to this point, but we still don't have dedicated staff to maintain it. We're still using consultants, and I believe that Ted wanted to make sure that city staff were trained so that we could maintain it rather than have consultants stay the next 30 years maintaining it for us at a much higher cost. And that's our presentation.
That's the presentation. I just wanted to say, thank you to the two of you for your leadership on the budget committee. The proposed budget was one thing. What was finally passed, these cuts are real, but you made it a million times better than it was. And so thank you both very much for your leadership.
Thank you so much. Councilwoman, you have any questions?
No, I think we have a greater understanding. Thank you for digging deep to make this all pencil out so that we can still provide service. And I know we'll do our best to do better. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, it would be great to looking forward to that the fees assessment, the permits fees assessment y'all are doing. You don't expect any delays with those 2 vacant positions being removed from Willits, right?
Not at this time. I think there are a couple of things that the program is going to deal with. One is the reassignment of BSS crews. That will increase our utilization of contractors, and so for a period of time, there was work that we had been batching to go to the quick route, which is city crews, that will now have to go the long route, which is contractors. And so there will be a momentary kind of slowdown on some of those, on that individual batch of projects. But after that blip, we're very good at using contractors, and so we will be able to kind of recover. We're looking at some innovative contracting methods, such as handling them more like our emergency sewer repairs, where we could basically just have pre-qualified contractors who are just issuing work.
Like a bench?
So it works. So it's a little bit more efficient than the current packaging system. So that will also help us kind of recover from the reassignment of the BSS crews as well. But yeah.
Great. Yes.
Just a fee question. When you're looking back at, how we can do better cost recovery and fee increases, if we find that we can have some movement and we can implement anything before the new fiscal, do you guys have like a wish list on what jobs you would like to, put back what we need the most?
I think our wish list on the fee increases was development services. That's how we saved all the development services jobs. About a third of our program was proposed to be eliminated prior to the fee increase. And so by, the budget anticipates the fee increase, we're committed to achieving the fee increase as early as possible. And so that was what allowed us to avoid the issue and development.
Got it. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next is LA San, and then BCA, and then BPW.
I don't have an LA Sam. Did they do one?
Hello. Wonderful. Please take a moment to introduce yourselves and then take it away.
Good afternoon, Barbara Romero, General Manager and Director of LA Sanitation Environment.
Good afternoon, Robert Potter, Assistant Director, Bureau of Sanitation.
Good afternoon, Sarai Baga, CFO for Sanitation.
So the adopted budget provided much needed resources in support of our clean water program to address deferred maintenance and restoration of positions at our water reclamation plants and our conveyance system, which is basically our sewers, as well as operation maintenance to support our watershed investments. I do also want to take this moment to thank you for your leadership in the Budget Committee in restoring so many positions We couldn't have done it without your leadership and support, so thank you very much. The adopted budget also includes the elimination of 50 filled positions. We are working with personnel and CAO to avoid the layoffs of the eliminated positions, but the deletions of these positions will have impacts on LA Sands operations, services, and overtime budgets. Slide 1. As you can see from the positions that were deleted, the chart has a number of positions deleted by classification and program. These eliminated positions included 2 positions that support environmental programs and 47 positions that support the Livability Services Division and 1 position in our Watershed Protection Division. Slide 2, please. First, I'll begin discussing the impacts of the deletion of the environmental programs. The elimination of the Environmental Affairs Officer essentially pauses and eliminates the Cleanup Greenup program until we find proper funding that can be identified. The impacts of this deletion support for small businesses, it will not be available. In this program, we help small businesses access resources or permitting guidance. What we'll also be losing is the Business Canvassing Initiative that provides businesses with cleaner operational methods. And most importantly, our environmental justice in our processes will be halted because this is the 1 position that was doing that in our operations. The second position eliminated supports our tree planting biodiversity program. Currently, we have 2 full-time staff in the program, an environmental specialist 2 and a vacant environmental specialist 1, which means with this elimination, we'll eliminate the program. The impacts of this deletion include making and supporting existing and future grant opportunities for tree programs are at risk. Since 2015, we secured $13 million in grants and planted over 14,000 trees and 5,400 new tree wells created in disadvantaged communities throughout Los Angeles. Cutting these positions will hinder the ability for us to deliver these grant deliverables, and more importantly, it's administer the deliverables because we work with our other partners, other departments, including OCB, to actually put the trees on the ground. And like I said, it'll hinder our ability to apply and manage new grants and tree planting projects would be impacted. So the elimination of this position is going to have a setback and impact our climate resilience, environmental justice, and our sanitation's urban forestry goals. Next slide. The largest cut and impacts are seen in our Livability Services Division, which provide critical services supporting individuals experiencing homelessness and operations focused on citywide cleanliness. We were able to work with the CAO and CLA in order to realign staff and operations to meet the budget restraints while maintaining core services. But I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Even with the extensive realignment, there still will be some severe operational and service impacts. A total of 47 positions were deleted, ranging from admin support to positions conducting operations. For our Care Plus program, we went from 26 teams to only 18. This will result in an estimated 17% reduction in service team hours per week. We currently operate about 62 hours a week, which is 496 hours per year, and will be reduced to 44.75, and annually would be, for the year would be 348 hours per year. A bridge home servicing will change from 1 time per week to 1 time per month. The Coastal Venice and Grand Avenue areas will split 1 team, reducing service and service days. The mobile hygiene unit program will be eliminated, will no longer provide the 3,000 showers to people experiencing homelessness. And one of the unintended consequences that I had not shared before was the RV operations assistance will be eliminated. responds to feces calls without the dedicated staff for these operations, which is something that we weren't doing. We weren't budgeted for it, but we were supporting these efforts. We'll need to rely on contractors, which are much more expensive, and also funding for these contract services was not included in the budget. Another unintended consequence of the budget includes not having overtime included, which LA-SAN relies completely for, especially for our larger operations that take time and responding to calls and requests that are outside of a typical working hours. All our Care Plus operations will need to be completed by 1 in order to avoid the accrual of potential overtime for staff. Even in spite of these challenges, the remaining staff is committed to providing exceptional service to the residents of City of Los Angeles. With that, I will end my formal presentations and welcome any questions you may have for myself and my colleagues.
Thank you so much. Sorry, I'm just trying to digest that we're gonna lose 3,000 showers. And a lot of the services that make our city livable with all the different crises going on. My question is, I have a couple questions. For Clean Up Green Up, what was the support you were doing for small businesses? And then the second question is, for livability services, can you explain what a 17% service reduction to service team hours means in days of work? For example, is it instead of 5 days, is it 4 days? Instead of 8 hours a day, is it 5 hours a day? Just more clarity on that.
So for the small business program, it was just basically when small businesses needed to understand our, how to operate clean operations, we would provide that guidance. So it was more of an administrative role, but I understand that there is a motion from Councilmember Padilla to revisit this program. So I'm looking forward to helping to revamp and reshape and modernize whatever efforts we do moving forward in the upcoming years.
Great, thank you. And you spoke a little bit about this earlier, but the 17%, what does that look like now? You gave the hours, but
So just to kind of break it down simply, we had 26 teams, 15 were for the council, and then there was ABH teams that were attached. We're going down to 18 teams. So each council district will still have their individual care team providing 2 days of comprehensive care and 3 days of care. So you'll have 5 days a week of the team. But if you did have an ABH in your district, you had an extra day of service because it provided it for the ABH. If you had a focused service zone like Skid Row or Grand or Venice or one of those, you had an extra day. So those days are all cut off now. So when you look at the average, it's a 17% reduction in the amount of teams we have in the field every day, which will equate to 17 to 20% less homeless encampments serviced per week.
Mm-hmm.
And then the challenge, and I think Barbara touched on it with the overtime. We had an overtime budget that was cut by 80% or more. That allowed us to take those Care Plus operations a little past 2:30, which was our working hours, just to make sure that we could add the third or fourth care operation. Now we're going to be limited to 1:30. That's when we have to drop dead on the time and head back so we don't do overtime. So we may only do 2 to 3 per day rather than 4 to 5 per day. So it's a double reduction, I guess, in a sense.
I got it. Thank you very much, Councilwoman.
I have a question about the RV operation assistance over on the livability service slide. The feces response call, will it be fully eliminated?
So no, those won't be eliminated. Currently, before we had, this MHU team that was supporting LSD operations, they were using Clean Harbors to respond to those 311 requests. And this team was actually addressing it. So we were actually had a significant savings.
Yeah. So the way we operated was we had the mobile hygiene units, and attached to the mobile hygiene units were crews that delivered the vehicles, but they were wastewater collection or wastewater conveyance operators that could drop the trailer while we had a contractor working at the trailer and do the additional work. So it didn't cost us anything to do that. And yeah, because they were already in the area and they could take on those calls. We did a rough estimate that we cost about 25% less than the contractor.
Sure.
To do that work, because they were at the time they were just incorporating it into hours that they already had scheduled to do the mobile hygiene work. So it kind of was a double win. That elimination of that program took those bodies out, which were supporting the RV operations for the CAO's office, some of the RV operations for Inside Safe, and also the Care Plus RV operations.
And so that means that we could still provide some of that service with our contractor, but it's not going to be on demand like it was because they were out there. So if an RV operation took less time than had been anticipated, we could deploy those a little quicker, and you probably have seen it in our operations.
Was it an additional requisition, or was it like clean your room and, oh yeah, sweep the hallway? And like, how did it work?
Yeah, explain what they do.
So you're talking about for the RV pump outs and that stuff?
Mhm.
So depending on the operation, we'll get calls as simple as an RV that burned up that has, waste within the tanks. So because we had the available equipment, we have Vactor trucks, which are giant pump trucks. We could deploy a crew once they had established the shower unit to that location. They could go in there, pump it out, and get it ready for transportation by the DOT OPG garage.
So are we reducing our vector too?
The Vactor trucks, there are 2 Vactor trucks assigned to it. One is on a lease that we'll just terminate the lease on, and the other one would likely be absorbed into the current clean water program.
So I think another way to look at it is because these 5 positions that eliminated this program, we're looking at where to place these 5 people, but can that still happen from the clean water? Yes, because we're going to have the bodies on the other side, on the special fund.
Okay.
But we don't, but this is a special general fund service. That's the challenge, because we're looking to save these positions, but in another program.
So
they do the same
how do
work.
we decide or determine that this one should go, all the other things. The reason I'm asking is we all suffer from the RV encampment pieces in all the districts almost, right? And then the human waste, not just in the RV containers, but next to it in a bucket on the street and all that other stuff is it's a health hazard. So
Let me try first in terms of the larger, when we were looking at how we can save our approach when we were making recommendations to you was looking at how many positions we can save. And that was the primary goal. And this program was one of the more expensive programs because of the equipment that it comes with it. And this, and like I mentioned in the beginning, for me personally, I didn't know that the RV was one of the unintended consequences, because they were doing this while they were roving out there, addressing the one issue in terms of the showers, putting the showers in place, and then they would be rovers doing this. So it was included that it would impact that, but it wasn't. Now it's very clear that this is a significant impact that we have to figure out how we're going to manage, quite frankly.
And just to touch it all together. So the Watershed Protection Program that we currently have, which is in our Watershed Protection Division, has a team that works with the RVs and deals with leaking RVs because it falls under the MS4 permit requirements. They were using Clean Harbors. We were able to adapt our crews. Now, these weren't part of our normal budget items associated with the shower program, but we had the crews available and did this on our own as a pilot to save money. But when it came down to it, the contractual costs that we have were cut so severely that the biggest program that saved us money, like Barbara said, was eliminating the program, and the unintended consequences were that function.
Missing that part. Okay.
Yeah.
Then my last question is there some other system that will take care of what that waste is?
Yeah, the waste will be handled through our WPD program, and what will end up happening, instead of city employees doing it at a cheaper cost, it'll go through the contractor, and the contractor has limitations on available equipment. We're a large operation with a lot of equipment that can adapt to when one piece of equipment is down. The contractor typically has 1 or 2 trucks, and they're not always operational, so they would have to reschedule operations. Like if you had an RV operation on a Tuesday and they couldn't provide the equipment, then you'd probably have to reschedule it. Whereas we could pull from our 40 plus vehicle resources to make sure that operation continued.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And just to add on that, since it's going to be a contractual service expense, and we already are under budgeted for that contract, we probably will need to be coming back to council for additional appropriations to cover as the activities continue.
So council members, I hear the concern because I felt the same concern in terms of the flexibility that crew provides for those RV operations. But, once we, like I said at the beginning, we're working with, with the CAO and personnel department for those 50 positions, try to restore and find places for these people to land within sanitation in special funded positions where it's the similar classification. And obviously this is probably one of the primary things that we're going to have to figure out, like if we can find another solution, we're looking at it, but the reality today is that it's going to have to be done through Clean Harbor. So it's just going to have a little more hiccups like it used to have at the beginning of the program. And then we were able to support and make it more flexible to deploy as one of the council offices on demand. So
now we lose a little more we lose a little bit of flexibility, and we're contracting the work that our city folks are doing. Clean Harbors is expensive, from what I remember, and some other motions. Okay, I don't have any more questions. More questions? Thank you so much. Appreciate you all for coming through.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have ECA. Please introduce yourself and take it away.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Council Member Raul Mendoza, Assistant Director at the Bureau of Contract Administration. Thank you for having us again. I appreciate the opportunity, not just from your work on the Budget and Finance Committee, but your interest and the opportunity to hear from you in this committee on your priorities, and for listening to us and letting us share how and what we need to deliver on your priorities. So we appreciate the time. A little bit about Bureau of Contract Administration really briefly. We're kind of split up into 2 different areas. One is the inspection side and the other is the compliance side. The inspection side is, we ensure quality, safety on our capital improvement projects, but also on private development projects and protecting the right of way. So we are, different from building and safety. We are not enforcing the minimum standard. We are ensuring that the projects are delivered in compliance with the plans and specs that the designer, Bureau of Engineering in many cases, puts forth for the project. So we are basically, I guess another way of saying it is the owner's representative, the city's representative, in making sure that we get the product that we're looking for. On the compliance side, I would say we're further split into 2 sides. One side being our Office of Contract Compliance, which ensures compliance with the rules and procedures that we have for our contracts. So the contractual obligations, whether that's prevailing wage, living wage on our personal services contracts, we ensure that the requirements of the project labor agreement are met. And then we also have an arm that does certification of small local minority businesses. And then the other side of our compliance is our Office of Wage Standards. That is our enforcement efforts as it relates to wage standards for businesses that have no contractual relationship with the city. So whether that's minimum wage, the Fair Work Week law, and different things that we'll cover briefly here. So just to go into the adopted budget changes. So just to put into context, we had 388 positions in the adopted budget for fiscal year 24-25. The proposed budget had 22 vacancies and 31 filled that were proposed to be eliminated. After all the budget discussions and deliberations, we will have 37 vacancies that will be eliminated. But what we're really most thankful for, again, is that we won't have any filled position eliminations. So that is not just a good thing because we're saving jobs, but it's also making sure, and again, in the work with your committee and your staff, and making sure that we put people in the places that are a priority for you. So obviously, displacements can still happen into Public Works and the Bureau, because we don't know what will happen with every other departments that may still have filled position eliminations. But at least for now, we know that we have sufficient positions for the people that we have. I touched on that area and your priorities, and one of those areas was the Office of Wage Standards. So as I mentioned, and it's written here on the right side of the slide, the different areas that the Office of Wage Standards covers as it relates to minimum wage enforcement, paid sick leave, Fair Work Week, the Hotel Worker Protection Law, the Fair Chance Initiative. So this office had 42 positions in the current fiscal year. The proposed budget brought that down to 22. Bringing it up back to 37 is the positions that were restored, particularly and primarily for our investigation section. So that will allow us to maintain our response time or our turnaround time on complaints that we receive for minimum wage complaints, paid sick leave as well. You do see an increase from the adopted restoration number from 37 to 42, and that was thanks to the 5 new positions that were added through the adopted budget process for the new hotel worker minimum wage ordinance. So those positions will help with early on preparing the rules and procedures, receiving and reviewing waivers, which we've already received some for those businesses who believe that they may not be able to comply with the hotel worker minimum wage without laying off a certain number of their employees. So we're reviewing those. And then the enforcement of the hotel minimum wage, and then ultimately also the implementation of the public housekeeping training requirement. So as you can see, while the starting number 42, with the ending number is also 42, there is more work coming to us. We did also in that lose a couple vacant positions for Fair Work Week. So some of the things that I know are pending in the council discussions as it relates to a Fair Work Week law for fast food workers, some of that, may be a little harder for us to absorb as that comes through. There's also a pending motion on state labor code enforcement. But like I said, the good news is I think right now it allows us to maintain a status quo on investigations and allows us to start to take on some of the hotel worker minimum wage work.
What does that mean? What does that mean when you say take on?
So one being the waivers that are going to come in initially for those businesses or the hotels who believe they can't comply with the minimum wage, and then taking on, when I say take on, it means taking on any complaints that come about from the hotel worker minimum wage. So workers who, especially early on, I think you get a lot of that early on where maybe it was an oversight or something like that may have happened. So we'll get a lot of those inquiries and a lot of complaints probably early on in the process.
Oversight on the increase in their wage on their check?
They're, right.
Oh, okay. Got it. Thank you.
So for contract compliance, I mean, I kind of touched on the different things that our Office of Contract Compliance oversees. Here, we started off with 55 positions. You know, there were some cuts to, for example, the division manager that oversees this office and some of this customer support that we provide for some of our different systems. There were also some new positions added in the proposed budget that we appreciated also, which was for the United to House LA compliance. So ULA projects that have a project labor agreement, you know, those projects that'll have over 60 units will have a project labor agreement. And so these positions will help enforce that. There's additional project labor agreement work on DWP projects. So we got a couple positions for those also. What this does not include, as the convention center discussions move on, there are no positions to do enforcement on prevailing wage and project labor agreement in the adopted budget. However, I know we've been working with the CAO, not just on the compliance side, but also for what we'll need eventually on inspection as those convention center discussions continue. And lastly, on our construction inspection divisions, we have 4 construction inspection divisions. There are some cuts to those you'll see in the red for different programs. We do believe that with some of the deferral of general fund listed projects, also, I think earlier it was mentioned in street services, some of the work for access ramps in alignment with pavement preservation will be done with city crews. So in those cases, whereas we had 4 positions for those previously, you know, if they're doing it with city crews, we don't provide inspection in those. So it's only if work is being contracted out that we provide inspection. So some of these cuts we'll be able to absorb. There are some assumptions, like I said, so this assumes that private development permit levels remain steady. And if they do, then, you know, the deletions will be able to absorb. I touched on the convention center, and I also just want to note our inspectors continue to be out there in the Palisades. There are 1,188 private debris removal permits. Those are those ones who opted out of the government-sponsored debris removal. So we are providing the sign-off on those in conjunction with the county. So far we've hit or gone to 830 sites or signed off, but there are still a number of those, but we've done 830 over the last 3 or 4 months.
Excuse me, I have a question. If they did not take the Army Corps of Engineers removal, and it's private removal, is there a fee associated that goes to the city?
I don't believe there's a fee for the debris removal permits, but we would anticipate that there's possibly some of this work that will ultimately become FEMA reimbursable, but that's something that we'll continue to work with the CAO on to figure out.
Who will be reimbursed then? The individual who uses a private company? Or
no, I'm sorry, I was referring to the city staff that's involved. No, for these, the ones that have opted out, you know, I don't want to make a general statement, but I imagine that many of them have just decided to pursue the debris removal on their own, either using insurance proceeds or with their own resources.
But the city doesn't get any kind of fee for that?
Correct.
And for the inspectors that go there, that you said are on the ground, do we get a fee for that?
Also no fee for them, but those are that's what I was referring to as it relates to the possibility of getting FEMA reimbursement.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
But it's to be determined.
Great, thank you. I don't have any questions. My question, I think you answered it, was around Palisades. But actually, yes. Are y'all still going to those 800 sites, or is your job there done?
So on those 800 sites, the job is done. We've visited several times and seen that the debris is removed. We've documented the public right of way. We've ensured certain things like in conjunction with sanitation, that the sewer is capped and things like that. But it does remain, my math, about 350 more sites that we'll still be looking at.
Great. And this might seem like a out of field question, but it sounds like you all are obviously dealing with a lot of contractors and in rebuilding the city. We know that oftentimes it's immigrants that are being hired to do that work. Is there any way that you imagine being able to incorporate some know your rights info into the outreach you're doing to contractors? Or is there a mechanism to be like, here's an email, contractors, about know your rights?
Yeah, so we've had different discussions about how we might do that. You know, we won't have a direct relationship, you know, especially in a lot of these instances. The debris removal contractors will be there and then they'll be gone, you know, 2-3 days later. But on the rebuild, certainly we're anticipating they'll be there for a longer period. So I think we will do is we can work with your office to strategize on different options. We had talked about doing pop-ups in the area about, you know, just again, know your rights, wage information, but it's something we're still looking at.
Great, thank you. Would love to have a conversation about that more. Go ahead.
This is a little different, but has there been an equity conversation about contractors in that space?
So, you know, I think the challenge is that we don't necessarily have a direct contractual relationship with those contractors. But what we've tried to do is we've tried to encourage. So we stood up on our website a page where we vetted local contractors just to ensure that they have licenses and things like that. So it's a resource page for homeowners that they can go to, because, you know, this is the work that I'm sure many of them never anticipated having to do or deal with, and something, you know, rebuilding or doing even a renovation on your home is not always something that you think about, but there's a lot involved in it. So we actually put together not just resources on contractors, but a sort of what to do, you know, the steps that you should take. But going back to your equity question, I think what we're trying to do is just encourage local businesses by putting a list together for people that they can access.
Thank you. Great, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank
Appreciate you. Last but not least, Board of Public Works.
What happened to the audience?
It's a marathon. We're the ones that made it.
Good afternoon, council members. Thank you for having us and sticking around to hear us out. I see that you have printed copies already, so I'll just tuck mine away and we can get into it. So our adopted budget, as many other bureaus have mentioned, the outlook is a lot rosier than it originally was when the proposed budget was released. We have 6 vacancies being deleted and 2 filled positions. So just to give a little data on that, we were previously facing almost 18% reduction in filled positions, and now that's down to 6% overall, including the vacancies. So we appreciate the work of the Budget and Finance Committee to help us with that. We have 3 offices that are being functionally transferred out of the board. That's our Climate Emergency Mobilization Office is being transferred to EMD. The Office of Forest Management is being transferred to the Department of City Planning. And we have a risk manager that is being transferred to the Bureau of Street Services to support the critical risk and liability work that the Bureau needs. Also wanted to mention the proposed budget included over $500,000 of cuts to graffiti abatement, but the Budget and Finance Committee restored those cuts to help us contribute to citywide beautification and public safety. And we wanted to really thank Councilmember Hernandez for your support in restoring that funding to us, especially given what I will talk about in a later slide regarding our graffiti funding. Another thing I wanted to mention, I know this committee is very interested and invested in our Clean LA program, our corridor cleaning program. We're happy to share that we did continue the $1.3 million in funding for 25-26 to continue our adult program. And we just found out last week that the state is continuing our grant funding for this youth program as well. So we will be able to continue our current service levels of Clean LA, which equates to about 60 to 65 crews citywide, servicing 13 corridors daily. So that's about 35,000 locations annually getting support from the Clean LA program. And we know that we're in MacArthur Park a lot working on that, and so we'll be able to continue those service levels. Next, we wanted to kind of just highlight an impact to state prevailing wage on our graffiti abatement budget. So while our the direct budget cuts to graffiti abatement were restored, just wanted to highlight that state prevailing wage increases of just over 20% are set to go into effect on July 1. And so that will impact how far our dollars can go next year, because we will be paying those contractors and crews an increased state prevailing wage rate. So naturally, this will impact our ability to provide services. And we did have, I think, a brief discussion about this in Budget and Finance Committee, but I know everyone was grappling with a lot of decisions to be made about funding, and so we just had highlighted and wanted to highlight again that this will impact our service delivery times. Less contract graffiti removal crews will be able to be deployed, and our average response times will likely increase. So right now it takes, or previously it would take about 24 to 72 hours to respond to a typical graffiti abatement request. And now we're estimating that might take up to 5 days. Do you have a question? No, no worries.
Graffiti abatement is super important in so many neighborhoods because it's messaging, making sure that the graffiti isn't there, keeps the warfare down. We're going into summer, things get hot, and messages go up more. So it's really something that we're both concerned in CD10 and CD1 on. I felt like the programs that, as they were working. And so now we're at a place where,
Yeah, it's difficult. And to your point, even, the recent unrest in downtown, we have been redeploying crews to respond immediately to kind of remove some of that graffiti as it went up. And that cost us, just for 1 week of services in downtown, it cost $85,000. And that essentially a portion of that was taking away from work that would have been done, proactive removal work that could have been done that week in other neighborhoods. And so there's that impact, and then there's also the financial impact, because we're going to get those invoices, on July 1st. So we're kind of already starting the year worrying about paying for that in addition to absorbing these cost increases.
Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you can always, any questions you have, feel free to pepper me.
Just a question. So you're saying, but it's not necessarily we didn't decrease in the budget. What increased was the prevailing wages?
Exactly.
Okay, got it. That's what's leading to the fewer square feet, the fewer teams, and the longer response?
Exactly.
Got it. Thank you.
Next, we wanted to highlight 2 revenue-generating initiatives that were approved in the adopted budget.
Wait, real quick, sorry. Are there any programs for the graffiti removal that are like apprenticeship, where we don't have to pay the prevailing wage, but we can bring in more people?
So I believe there was a program for pre-apprenticeship that we could pay a little bit less to kind of train folks into getting into those classifications. But I believe the program sunsetted at the state level. And so we would need to look into the impacts of how that impacts our ability to continue that program.
Great. Yeah, I would love to talk to you all about that. Thank
Absolutely.
you. Sorry to interrupt. I just want to say before I forgot.
Yep, and we will follow up with you on that.
Thank you.
I know this body encouraged everyone to kind of come up with revenue generating opportunities in the budget. And so we had 2 that were funded that we're already beginning our work on. So I just wanted to kind of give you an update on that, and we'll provide you with more updates as these things progress. So first we have the Office of Accounting. We're pursuing recapturing a backlog in permit fees that are owed to the general fund. There's a large amount of funds awaiting a final accounting and transfer process that will allow permit fees that have already been charged, work that's already been done by our city workforce related to building permits. We can transfer that money to the general fund. It's simply that we have kind of this place where it's backlogged in a bottleneck where our accounting staff need to do a lot of detailed work in order to close the permits out. And so the largest bucket of that is B permit revenue, and we ran some numbers, and we have about $5 million backed up there. And then we have about $7 million or $8 million of other permit types, so about $13 million in that backlog. And we're really looking forward to, we got 2 staff approved that cost about maybe $200,000 a year that will be able to recapture this revenue. And given the hiring and allocation process for when new positions are authorized, we're kind of estimating this year, if we're able to get started in 6 months, that we could recapture $2.2 million in the current fiscal year. And then as we continue on, we'll work down the remaining 13 million. And beyond that, we'll be able to just kind of keep pace, and the positions will continue to pay for themselves and then some. Yes, and we're really happy that idea got uplifted, and we're looking forward to pursuing it. So thank you both so much for your support in that. And next, we wanted to talk about the Office of Petroleum and Natural Gas. I know there were a lot of conversations about this program and the future of it and the future of our franchise agreements throughout Budget and Finance Committee. We did end up ultimately with an instruction in the 25-26 adopted budget to pursue new pipeline franchise agreements. The current agreements are expired, they're outdated, and so this offers us an opportunity to introduce new policies on how the city manages our pipeline franchises and explore increased revenue generation at the same time. So we kind of have this opportunity to work with the council and get additional feedback before we move forward on specific items. So, for example, we could build in more stringent environmental guidelines. We can review our fines, so our penalties for non-compliant actors. We can increase those. And then another instruction that we received from you, Councilmember Hernandez, was to set aside a portion of funds from renegotiated franchises for environmental remediation and climate goals, including brownfields. So the whole process, we're going to start by meeting with council offices to kind of communicate some of those policy decision points that we're going to need guidance on, and communicate with our franchisees to let them know we're planning to begin our work on these renegotiations. And then we will need to draft up updated agreements, which take the form of an ordinance in this case. And one thing I wanted to note on this as well, the city can charge each pipeline franchise for the staff costs associated with preparing all of these new agreements. So, we will be able to recapture and charge staff costs. And that was important for us to highlight in the Budget and Finance Committee because you may recall that initially this entire group was proposed for near deletion. There was only going to be 2 or 3 positions left, and they generate about $60 million in revenue per year, and we weren't sure how we were going to be able to keep pace with even that. So we're really happy that these positions got not only restored, but we're now able to go and kind of direct staff to focus on increasing revenue even further, as well as pursuing environmental policy guidelines as directed by council as we go through this process.
Thank you. I was going to ask a question.
Go for it.
When we had this original conversation, budget and finance, we were both there. We did talk about eliminating positions. Now, do we have like a petroleum administrator? Do we have a leadership role there?
Yes, Miss Erica Blyther is our petroleum administrator.
Okay. And then when you're saying that permits are outdated or have expired, are we able to go back and get recover whatever we didn't get from expiration date to now, or is it because we didn't push the issue that we can't?
So the way that it's working currently is that even though they're technically expired, the franchise activities are continuing. And so with working with our city attorney, we still receive franchise fees. And they're still owed to us. So we do still collect that revenue.
Because they are still operating.
Correct, yeah.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you. This is good news.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Oh, it's great. Thank you. It is great news.
Thank you. And that's actually the last slide for today. So we just wanted to thank you guys again so much for your support throughout the Budget and Finance Committee process. And we're looking forward to helping advance these initiatives next year. And just thank you again for hearing us out. And we'll continue to provide updates as we have them.
Thank you so much. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Mr. Espinoza, is there anything else before the committee?
No, the desk is clear.
Wonderful. This committee meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, everybody.